The Gridiron is sponsored by Rothman Orthopedic.
Welcome back for another season of The Gridiron, the longest running show on RCTV. I'm your host, John Brennan, with the head coach, Chad Brubaker, against all odds. Coach, we're back here for the 11th season of The Gridiron. Let's also note, everybody out there, we are socially distanced within the booth here, as we've been in the booth the past couple of years getting ready for the season. But
how long has Saturday Night Live been running?
I think longer than 11 years.
Longer. Down soon because we're right on their tail.
We are. And listen, like we said it, at some points we didn't know if we would have, fall sports this year, and it's
now,
good to be back.
I will say though,
okay,
we were on a text chain.
Yeah, we were.
What did I say?
We were going to play sports.
All along. Like, listen, and I tell you what, we said that to our kids too because, although we were somewhat realistic about, odds and things like that, I just felt it was really important to keep the kids on the same path.
And, we talked about another thing, just a huge difference pre-show. We're talking just how how you got from March to where you're at now. Like you start doing some spring football, you go away to camps, and you're getting ready for the season, and all of that stuff was thrown out the door. All your stuff essentially was through Zoom, but you continued. You found a way as a staff to keep doing what you do with the kids and keep it as, like in the idea that we talked about, continually going to play football.
Yeah, we had spring practice virtually, not on Zoom, but on Microsoft Teams.
Teams in the spring. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And then fortunately, we transitioned to Zoom after some things were kind of, on the back end changed, worked out. So that was a lot better. But we did have, virtual spring practice. The one thing that we really have an advantage on is our strength and conditioning coach, Will Giositz, who was able to push out our team builder workouts, or push out workouts through team builder from the very beginning. So, and we could kind of see who was fudging things and who wasn't, and kind of have conversations with them. So, from a conditioning standpoint, from a strength standpoint, we kind of kept moving on, which was, I feel, a real advantage for us. We'll see. But I know that, all head coaches are feeling kind of in the pack are feeling kind of the same way that I am, which is I have no idea if we're ready or not. Like it's been, normally you're right. We go to team camp. We have all of June. We have spring practice. By the end of spring practice, we have our whole offense in.
Yeah.
So the rest of the summer is fine tuning it, seeing who can do what, yada, yada. And boy, we just missed out on that. So then with the gap, we feel like we've been reteaching a lot of things. And it's kind of like a math teacher in the, starting off in the fall and having to reteach a couple things from the end of the spring.
Yeah.
And, I hope we're ready. We had an intra-squad scrimmage on Friday night. We made a ton of mistakes that we probably in a normal year wouldn't make at team camp. So, but again, I take a little solace in the fact that everybody else is in the same boat, but it's nerve-wracking.
I liked one, and I was reading the previews from the teams, and I liked one quote that you talked in there, like, you're just focusing on coaching your kids the best you can. Put everything else kind of by the side. That's the only thing. I really like that quote from you. I'm sure a lot of people might be finding excuses. What's wrong? At the bottom of the day, you got to coach these kids. You don't have your scrimmage. You don't have those non-league games to get ready for your league season. Just every week, let's coach the best we can and prepare the kids the best we can.
And that goes through the whole off season. It kind of, some of that quote was cut out, and the question actually was something along the lines of, you kind of have to are you reinventing yourself because you lost, Ryan Angro and Dante Benani and the other receivers, Blaise Scarcelli, and the question was an offensive question. You have to reinvent yourselves, and my answer to that was, we do that every year. Mm-hmm. Like, we don't get to recruit, so we have the guys we have.
Yeah.
And we don't we try to get kids out from our own student body, so that could be considered recruiting, but ultimately, we have the guys we have. It's a set, finite number of guys, and we don't get to go out and cherry pick like some schools. So we spend our off-season coaching, and we spend our off-season evaluating kids, not like, ooh, we have a a spot here that we need to make better. Oh, let's go see if we can find something. That's not how. So we have a finite situation, and we just try to get the kids we have, and we try to make them better, and we try to make our schemes fit our kids. And, so that's like, most public school coaches.
Right. And like I said, I took from that, I'm like, I really liked the way it read almost to me. I wasn't so much worried that the recruiting part, but I was like, yeah, he's not worried about outside noise, not worried about, what ADs are saying, what other coaches are saying. You're not worried about what school districts are saying. You're just saying you're going to show up, almost like this Friday night. Whatever's there, you're showing up, PV showing up, and you're going to play football. That's all that's really on the bottom line on the table.
Well, you owe me 10 push-ups after the show.
No. I don't fall into that shenanigans or whatever.
I will say this. I tried to talk to our kids all summer about ignoring noise and just listening to what I said. There's all kinds of, even especially in the days of social media, there were rumors about this, rumors about that. Someone from this school had COVID. Someone from that school's program had COVID. We're coming back next week. We're starting on this day. We're starting on that day. So what I said to these guys, listen, I will tell you as soon as I know, and I've continued to say the same to parents who are asking, do we have tickets?
All we have. Right.
You will know when I know.
Yeah.
And that's been disconcerting because that I'm not that type of person. Yesterday, someone came to me, one of the custodians said, hey, you're not going to be in the LGI with film tomorrow, are you? And I said, no, I scheduled that back in December. Sorry, like that. Like I have everything, mapped out. And this is tough for everybody. I feel like for me, personality-wise, it's really extra tough because I like to make sure I have everything laid out for a long time. And it's really put a damper on that.
Right, and like any coach, like you're trying to plan, you want to plan out a season. I know I submitted like last spring, hey, here's our matches, here's all our non-league stuff. Well, right now, like you're going week by week, like here's what we're playing for the week, and you see where you.
Honestly, I'm going less than that.
Yeah, that's all I'm trying to do.
Day by day, a little bit at some point, because, this morning, PV reached out and asked about if RCTV would be broadcasting the game, and I knew. Talking to Mr. Rothmel, I knew we were, so I tweeted that out. But other than that, I don't know anything about spectators right now. It's Tuesday morning. I don't know anything about spectators. I don't know. Here, let's pull back the curtain, as you say. I don't know if we're going to be able to be in the building changing. There's rumors about getting a tent, so we're quote unquote outdoors. And that's the other thing about this. Some of this stuff, and everybody knows it, so it's not a political issue, but some of this stuff doesn't make sense. If Spring Ford had a stadium the size of the Link, and someone else had a stadium the size of Spring Ford, I would expect that there was two different numbers there based on capacity. In other words, like one is a huge space and one is a smaller space.
Yeah.
So the larger space, you would assume, there's a capacity. And it's the same thing like we were talking about all summer. We've limited the weight room to 25. And it's been tough because that means we have to go in 4 different groups. So, in our old weight room, we couldn't have had 10 and socially distanced properly.
Right.
But in our new weight room, we could easily get 40 plus in there and socially distance the way we currently are doing it. But the number was 25.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of different things that people have legitimate points and arguments about. And for whatever reason, it's not based on fire code or something. I think that would have been maybe a better approach. But so.
All right, so just so we're clear with everybody out there, as of right now, if we're looking at big picture, you got 5 league games, right? If we're looking at things right now, we're playing 5 league games against PAC, and there's still some work. I know there's some things going in the PAA about, and now they're talking about other leagues coming back to play too. Districts are still kind of, once again, it's almost like you can't think about it right now. Let's worry about, week by week. But go just give a big picture for everybody out there that's what is on paper, what are we doing right now?
So I'll start from the beginning because I think, so I was on a committee along with some other coaches from all regions of Pennsylvania for the PSFCA to recommend what the approach should be. And our recommendation for the approach was get to start on time, wait for week 1. Let's say we're playing you. Mm-hmm. Are you good? Yeah, we're good. Okay, we're good. Let's play. Mm-hmm. Go to week 2. Are you good? No, we just had a case. Okay, we're good. Can we find somebody else to play, or it's a bye week? And that was kind of the approach. Well, somewhere along the line, that was never communicated. The PIAA was kind of, I feel like they were taking that approach, but they didn't communicate that same thing. And it made a lot of sense. Some people were, and ultimately our committee knew that at the end of the day, leagues and school districts are going to make their own decisions. Because we can say whatever we want. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, I know that the Central League is very league-oriented. They only have one non-league. They want to play all their league games. We have less in our quote-unquote league, our division, so we would have more wiggle room for non-league games. But that was the approach. And that never, I don't know that was ever, and I don't even know, what the workings are of that, but I just know here was our recommendation. So I don't know where that, either if it fell by the wayside or it wasn't, whatever. Maybe it wasn't good enough. I don't know. But I feel like when I talk to other coaches were like, yeah, that's great because, then we can keep going and there's this light always at the end of the tunnel. So even if you had a situation, okay, we're shut down for 2 weeks, but then, hey, we're back in. We're playing our week 4 game.
Okay.
But so that was the original thing. And then, of course, everything got pushed back. Leagues started pushing it back. Obviously, the School District of Philadelphia, shut it all down. District 12, the Catholic League shut it all down. Yeah. And, again, I just thought, keep pushing it back. Give kids hope. That's kind of the approach that we took at Springford, which was nice. Just kind of, I was able to say throughout the summer, hey, guys, just keep treading water. That was our thing. Keep treading water until we can figure this out. And our kids did a great job, and our parents did a great job.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the deal. So now we are at, you saw a bunch of schools from the PAC opt out, Norristown being the first. And I feel bad for those kids. They're in a lose-lose situation, a lot of them, we all waited for our senior year for whatever sport it was.
Yep.
It's just, in your life, it's a magical year. So I feel bad for those kids. But 6 teams, including Springford, opted to stay in. And
for football.
Yep. And we decided that what we were going to do is, and this took a while. I was a little disappointed that we couldn't figure this out earlier, but rearrange the schedule for those 6 teams. In our league, basically, Upper Perk replaced Norristown, in our division, I should say. And then we intend to backfill games if we can. And then if playoffs, and we're in the we'll go to playoffs as long as everything's good and kosher and the board approves of it. But I was just disappointed in that it took so long because now you can't find games.
Yeah, you're essentially now playing your 6 league games.
Five league games.
Your 6, the 5 league games, and then
we'll see.
See what happens. Yeah.
If something happens, it'll basically turn into what I was saying earlier, where, if someone has a COVID situation and the team they're playing wants to play, then maybe we would have an option.
Yeah.
And then playoffs would start the week after that. So we haven't tried to schedule after November 6th, for November 6th, which would be the first week of playoffs, because I'm not gonna, schedule a game.
Then you're canceling out on that.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I got what you're
saying. The PAC Coaches Association also made a proposal to the athletic directors, which they accepted, which was we're not even as long as everybody's in the same boat, we said, let's just have an intra-scrimmage, not scrimmage somebody else, because we didn't want to scrimmage someone we're going to play in a couple weeks.
Yeah, makes sense.
And if we do scrimmage somebody and something happens, we'd rather play PV than play, a scrimmage against some random team. So that's kind of how we kind of agreed to that. And if we said, well, if everybody's in the same boat, then we're fine with it.
And here we are, week 1, and it's ready to go here. All right, Coach, good stuff right there. We're going to take a break here. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about some new guys that you got on for the program this year, and we'll preview the game with Brown and Orange.
There you go.
All right. Stay tuned through this commercial break. We'll be back with more Gridiron after this. Welcome back to the Gridiron. I'm your host, John Brennan, with the head coach, Chad Brubaker. All right, Coach, second segment here. Let's focus on this 2020 team here. You talked a little bit that first segment about some guys you lost. Obviously, Engro comes to the top of that list, quarterback. And quarterback through the 10 years that we've been a part of this has always been a major part of this program. And you've had some special ones for this program. So I'm sure that was a huge decision, and I'm sure you wanted some more evaluation process. But, I'm sure we can also – who is the guy we're going with here in 2020 for the squad, and, what's your expectations?
Well, so the biggest thing that we felt, and try to stress to kids is, like, knowledge is going to get you where you need to go. Because you can have ability, but if you don't have the knowledge, then it's not going to work out in the end. So, Ryan Freed has been up with JV 2 years. He's a junior. Kyle Keckler is a junior. Jake Ray and Gavin Vigilante are sophomores. And we would love to have had them at team camp where, we have them 24/7 for, well, not 7, 24/3.
Yeah, for a week,
weekend, and, get to evaluate them more. But, we've had enough time. And Ryan Freed has because of his knowledge, has really come to the forefront. And, we got to get those other guys to a point where they feel more comfortable. But Ryan will be the starter going into game 1.
Okay. Now, we do have guys back. Your offensive line, you do have a lot of guys back from the offensive line. You got some experience at running back for you guys, too. Skill spots still seem to be like a thing for you. Who's some new guys for wide receiver? Just talk about who's in your offensive mix. Guys back, guys new, we'll see. And are we going to see, I feel like, once again, talk about reinventing yourself. Are we going to see the tight end? The tight end used to be a huge part of this offense in those early years. Haven't really seen in the past years. Are we going to try to get back to some of that?
Yeah, so definitely reinventing ourselves to the point where, we're huddling.
Okay.
We're not going to go as fast as we can, for different reasons. I think, with the inexperience at the quarterback position, hopefully we want to establish a run game a little bit more than we would try to in the past. And speaking of the run game, we have Harry Adiefe and Andrew Yoon back. Andrew's battled injuries and has helped us win games, but then has gotten injured. We also really like some of our sophomores. One that stands out is Ryan Wilson. And Will Fish is another.
So you got some depth at running back.
So we got some depth. We feel pretty good at running back. You mentioned tight end. Josh Hellauer's back, and he came on a lot at the end of last year. And he's back along with Gavin Schaefer. So we have those two guys. Maybe Josh Pergine, maybe Zach Marinello getting some time as a second tight end. And then we kind of moved Cam Goldsmith from a running back position kind of to more of a H-back position.
Okay, yeah.
Cam has some ability. Cam has to learn, the new position and make sure he knows what he's doing on every play. But we feel he can help us. And then at receiver, obviously Nick Tietz is the one that's back. But we have Joe Brogan, who saw a lot of time as our punt returner last year. Mason Brill. We really like two juniors, Colton Kashira and Peyton West. But the knowledge thing is really important. And then the other senior who's just real steady is Nick Cagliola. But again, there's some sophomores pushing there. Zach Zollers is a kid that he has learned everything like that. Mm-hmm. So we're really happy about him. And there's a couple other sophomores we like that aren't ready for varsity, but hopefully we can get them there next year. On the offensive line, you're right. Ian Harvey's back, who started the last 4 or 5 games last year. Ryan Beppel, who started some games as a sophomore, wasn't ready but had to be thrown in there. Started some more as a junior and is back as a senior. And then Kyle Kennedy, who has a preferred walk-on offer from Drake that he just announced this morning. And
congratulations.
He's 2.5-year starter, basically. Started midway through his sophomore year. So he's back at center. And then the other, we moved Ian out to a tackle. And then senior Connor McMahon is currently playing left guard, and right tackle is John Caputo. So we like our guys. Was a little disappointed in the scrimmage in terms of, there's some seniors there, and we shouldn't be making some of the mistakes that we're making. But we have no place to go, but we got to get there. So
okay.
Offensively, that's kind of where we're at right now.
I'll be intrigued to see the slow down Rams a little bit. That's my, that was what I took the most out of that.
Yeah.
I know in the past, a couple years ago, we were trying to go as fast as we could. I know you've had you've slowed it down a little bit, but it'll be interesting to see how we.
Well, a couple years ago, TJ Pergine and then Ryan Engro, and we did slow down a little bit. But we put everything on TJ and we were trying to go as fast as we can because we felt we needed to.
Calls, yeah, okay.
We needed to give ourselves an advantage, and that was the advantage that we came up with. We had a senior quarterback, and it's kind of a situation like this where there was, guys coming back, but they were inexperienced. So now it's kind of reversed. Now we have some guys at wide receiver, but not a quarterback. So it was reversed at that point. So, ultimately, you just got to figure it out.
All right, and your defense from last year really, once again, returning two big areas, returning that secondary. I feel like if I was reading right, all 3 or 4 of them are all back from last year. You got some experience with at the line position too. So, talk about your defense. I know it's an even front. We've done that in the past. We're still going to the same ideas.
Yeah.
Once again, guys back. Who's some new guys the Rams going to see on defense too?
Well, let's start with the secondary since you mentioned it first. Nate Capers is a kid, I really feel like he's an scholarship offer kid. It hasn't come through yet. But Nate is 6'2", 190-pound kid that we play at corner. He's one of our fastest players. Probably translates more to an outside linebacker, strong safety at the collegiate level. And then Naftali Stein is our other corner. Again, he's a kid that kind of split time a little bit last year, but was in there in key situations. And then our safeties, Nick Teets and Andrew Yoon. Andrew missed a lot of the season, but he was backed up admirably by Mason Brill, who we moved up to outside linebacker right now.
And just real quick, so those are guys that we hear on the offense and defense. So that kind of shows the depth that you haven't received, or the depth at running back, where you can get them some offense, but it kind of sounds like you're going to give them some big opportunities on the defensive end too.
Yeah, they'll play a lot more on the defensive side, and we'll spot them on the offensive side. Andrew, we intend to split time at running back, and there's some other guys we have. But so Mason Brill moved up to outside linebacker. The other person, by the way, before I move on, that is going to see a lot of time is Cole Turner. Cole Turner is very versatile. He can play corner for us. He can play strong or free safety for us. He can play all 3 positions, and really had an outstanding scrimmage. The other linebackers, back to linebackers, Ryan Horvath, Josh Pergine, Zach Marinello, Ryan Wilson's in over there at either a linebacker, a split side linebacker, or a strong safety. So all those guys, it'll be a mix. It's hard if there's guys that are relatively even, it's hard without scrimmages or games to really, decide. So hopefully we made some good decisions there. And then our 2 defensive tackles. So one of the problems in our scrimmage was that we struggled to block our defensive tackles. Both guys are all-league guys. They're DJ France is a 3-year starter. He had 7 sacks as a sophomore. He's back. And then Donnie Nicoline, as a sophomore last year, was an all-league defensive lineman. So we really struggled to block those guys. They're not the biggest guys in the world, but they are quicker than most, if not all, offensive linemen that you'll see. And they were causing us all kinds of problems. So hopefully no one in the league is as good as those guys, because we struggled.
All right.
We struggled with them. And then at defensive end, it'll probably be a little bit by committee. Josh Hellauer will, rotate at 1 along with Gavin Schaefer, and then Nasir Cook is back with us and has just really played. He has a motor, and he has played really hard in practice. And that's put him in a position where I think he's earned the starting position. But he will rotate from time to time. There's some other guys that may come in.
And that was one of your defense. You lost 2 defensive ends from
all
last year, all league guys. Like I'm saying,
and the MVP of the league.
Right. That's a tough fill, for you guys as a program there too.
We feel good right now about obviously games will tell the true story, but we feel pretty good about those guys right now.
Something I've been talking about, in spring and fall coaching, it's like a sense of urgency too. Like you don't know how much, like play it every time. Like you got to have a sense of urgency. Not
in practice.
Yeah.
And I've said that to the quarterbacks. I've said that quite a few times. I didn't have to say that to Nasir. Nasir decided not to play last year. I told him that was a big mistake a year ago.
Sure.
And he's back, and we wish he was 20 pounds more, which we think he'd be if he would have been with us. But he knew that he didn't just walk in and get to play.
Right.
And he's earned it in the weeks leading up to the point where he's made some guys look silly, in practice because he's going full speed and they think it's practice. And so he's helped us.
All right. So last thing we got to talk about. I know we're running out of time here. The Brown and Orange. You get to start with the big rival here. Start week one with them. We know what they have at the quarter. We know what they have right there. So real quick, I know we don't have no film this week. Odd for us. But
well,
we're going to see
Heaps Landscaping is going to be our highlight
so we got
sponsor. We have that worked out. We just don't have any highlights.
They're going to have a terrific quarterback. You're going to see that 3-3 that they do. You know what PV is. It's like, once again, reinventing. What are they going to do differently? But yeah, just real quick on PV.
Well, you're right. I mean, both staffs are very familiar with each other. This would have been our first league game had we, after our four non-leagues.
Yep.
But then it got bumped up and we were, Coach Heist and I were okay with it from the standpoint that if anything does happen, negatively, we have this game in.
Gotcha.
And, our kids want to play this game. Their kids want to play this game. And if we had bumped it to the end of the season and something went wrong, then we wouldn't have been able to play it. And, the other thing, too, is, quite honestly, it's come down to them and us over the past few years. And so, if all things go well, we'll play, our 5 games, 6 games plus playoffs. But if things don't go the way we plan it, we want to have played them. So, I don't know. Like, as much as I feel like we know them, and we certainly know their quarterback, and we certainly know what they like to do on defense. And although who knows, maybe they changed in the offseason. Yeah. Ultimately, it's going. We have no scrimmage film to watch. Like, we didn't exchange scrimmage films against ourselves. We have, we have last year's film, sure, and a few others, but. That doesn't tell. They lost a lot to graduation on both sides of the ball. But, we saw guys on JV, and, we saw their 9th grade team. And
they're a well-run program. They know what they're doing.
Correct.
They're well coached,
they got
stuff.
guys that jump in. So, I don't know any of their names. I don't know – I shouldn't say any. I don't know many of their names other than what you see in the paper, and we'll find out who's a player and who's not, and we'll go from there.
All right, Coach, good stuff right there. Make sure you tune into RCTV this week. I'm sure there's going to be some sort of coverage. They'll put some posts out there.
YouTube channel.
It'll be out there. If the game will have some coverage. We'll say that Friday night for those that
definitely will.
In our new world of limited, but we don't know. We don't know. We don't know who's. We're not answering that.
We don't know.
We don't know.
I don't know if we're going to be in the locker rooms. I don't know if we're going to be in tents.
But we're going to have it on RCTV for you. That's what we do know. It's going to be on RCTV.
We do know that.
All right.
We do know that it's at McNally Stadium, 7 o'clock on Friday night.
And we'll have RCTV coverage.
That's what we know. Those are the known quantities. Other than that, I don't know what to tell you.
All right. Well, best of luck to you and the crew this week, all right?
Thanks.
All right. Make sure you tune in next week as we recap the game with Perkiomen Valley. For the head coach, Chad Brubaker, I'm John Brennan. See you next time on the Gridiron.